Got a patrol leader with you? Who's in charge? You're it? Okay, so when you're done, I'm going to ask you to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, will you? All right. So let's start. Let's introduce us. Where are you? Who are you, and where are you from?
We're from Troop 370.
Who are you?
I'm Preston Carlson. I'm from Troop 370. And yeah.
Who are you?
Haley Carlson.
Yep, so.
Thank you. Let's go back here over here because you're going to be the leader here in a minute.
I'm Camden Sanford, and I'm a part of Troop 370.
370 also. How about right here?
I'm Grant Kosmicki, and I'm also part of Troop 370.
Fantastic. Patrol leader?
I'm Calvin Frost, and I'm also part of Troop 370.
All right, would you come up here real quick? Right up here. And if we could please ask everybody to stand and follow us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and after which, if you would remain standing for the moment of silence.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if anybody saw that, but before the meeting started, I was on the phone with Pastor Jim Jones from the Blazing Grace Church, and he is calling to say, I messed up. I'm on the other side of town. I'm not going to make it. So we'll see him in a couple weeks. With that, we'll move to agenda item number 3 is a consent agenda. The following business items may be approved by one motion and a vote. If any one member of the council so desires, any matter listed can be moved to a separate agenda item. A, minutes. Council may wish to waive the oral reading of the minutes and approve the minutes from the budget meeting of June 8, 2022. B, material claims. Council may wish to consider material claims for the period of November 1 through November 12, 2022. C, treasurer's report. Council may wish to consider the treasurer's report for September 2022 showing cash and investments as of September 30, 2022. D, Animal Shelter Advisory Board appointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's appointment of Paige Zillemer to serve as a member of the Animal Shelter Advisory Board, replacing Kelly Boudry, who resigned. Paige's term will begin November 18, 2022, and will expire February 9, 2024. E, Human Relations Advisory Committee appointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's appointment of Jamie Anthony and Edwards Kramer to serve as a member of the Human Relations Advisory Committee, replacing Chris Cole-Clegg and Jana Thompson. Jamie's term will begin November 18, 2022, and will expire March 22, 2024. Edwards' term will begin November 18, 2022, and will expire August 8, 2023. F, Investments and Audit Committee appointments. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's appointment of Eugene Hill, Bonnie Schroeder, Linda Lurick, Corey Mangum, and Benny Ma to serve as members of the Investment and Audit Committee. All terms will begin November 18, 2022 and are non-expiring. G, Pocatello Development Authority reappointment. Council may wish to confirm Brian Bladd's reappointment to Pocatello Development Authority Board of Directors. Mayor Bladd's term will begin May 1, 2022 and will expire May 1, 2026. H, Pocatello Regional Airport Commission appointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's appointment of Ali Khan to serve as a member of the Pocatello Regional Airport Commission, replacing Stephen Booth, whose term expired. Ali's term will begin November 18, 2022 and will expire November 18, 2024. I, Council Decision Contract Rezone Request JG Ventures, LLC. Council may wish to adopt this decision approving a request from JG Ventures LLC to rezone by contract approximately 8.75 acres of land located in the 700 block of Hospital Way from residential low-density RL to residential commercial professional RCP. J, council decision short plat approval Portneuf Views. Council may wish to adopt this decision approving a short plat for Portneuf Views, which subdivide approximately 3.09 acres of land located at the northwest intersection of Highland Boulevard and Gavin Road and Gwen Road Drive into 4 residential lots subject to conditions. K, council decision final plat approval elevation 5,000 Division 1. Council may wish to adopt this decision to approve the final plat for elevation 5,000 Division 1, subdividing approximately 6.57 acres of land into 24 townhome lots and 1 common area lot, subject to conditions with the subdivision will be accessed from the new road to be named Brandy Way southeast approximately 550 feet via Center Street.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that the council approve the following business listed in agenda item 3A through K.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mangum and a second by Mansfield. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Mangum,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Marchand,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 4 is proclamation and communication. We have no proclamations, and so we'll move to agenda item 5 is a calendar review. Council may wish to take this opportunity to inform other council members of upcoming meetings and events that should be called to their attention. November 18, 8:30 a.m., City Council Goal Setting Meeting. November 28, 1:30 p.m., City Council Goal Setting Meeting. December 1, 5:30 p.m., clarification meeting. December 1, 6 p.m., regular council meeting. Other events, November 16th through the 19th is the Festival of Trees at the Stevens Performing Arts Center. November 24 and 25, city offices will be closed to observe Thanksgiving holiday. Garbage and recycle pickups for Thursday and Friday will be 1 day behind. The Community Rec Center will be closed on Thanksgiving Day, but will be opened at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Friday, November 25th. November 25th, Christmas Night Lights Parade in historic downtown at 6:30 p.m. City Creek Recreation Area gates are closed to motorized access until approximately May 15, 2023. As a reminder, the annual leaf collection continues through November 30th. Leaves must be placed in large paper compostable bags, not boxes or plastic bags. Place compostable leaf bags curbside by 7 a.m. on the regular collection day to be taken to the Bannock County landfill compost site. Agenda item 6, appeal of city code interpretation, Frank Nuding. Council may wish to consider a request by Frank Nuding to appeal the decision of the Planning and Development Services Director interpretation of City Code 15.20.240B related to spacing of off-premise billboard signs. So Frank, I'm going to call you up here. And I just want to remind everybody that there's always, when we do this, there's always some kind of confusion. People think that it's a public hearing. This is not a public hearing. We will hear from Frank. We'll hear from our staff. We'll give Frank an opportunity maybe to say a few words at the end. A few last words. His last words. Yeah. Hey, I'm happy to help you out there. But he'll help us with that, and then he'll say that, and then we'll turn it over to the city council to have a discussion and to discuss things. The city council may have some questions for both Frank and staff, and that's perfectly okay. They can do that. So.
Okay. Frank Nuding, 6346 Old Ranch Road here in Pocatello. First things, want to thank you guys, new council people, for stepping up to the plate, and it was a good thing for the city, I believe. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. So question here is inside the ordinance for off-premise signs, it basically has some criteria, which is some distance and spacing. And the planning department has determined that this Olympus, this is South Olympus, this is across the street, is not a road or a street. And so what's happened here is Lamar has a sign up here. The distance has to be 150 feet by code across a road or a street for separation. Their contention is that this is on the same, and this is their sign, this is where my proposed sign is 370 feet across Olympus roadway here. And so it's not on the same street. So anyway, the city of Pocatello actually owns the property. It maintains the property. It has a signal light, left turn, right turn. You can go straight across North Olympus. It's open and usable to anybody publicly. They can use the street. They can access Jackson's, Jack in the Box. They can drive around the hotel. So there's no restrictions, no gates. So is it a public street? Yes. Is it a roadway? Yes. So does it meet the criteria and the spirit of the ordinance? Yes. And so what we're looking for here is to put a sign that sits back. It's a single-sided sign, so there'll be no light emitted back towards the hill. So there'll be no light pollution. So on the backside, so you're not gonna have any neighborhood people having issues with that. So it'll actually face towards Olympus as you come down Olympus. So anyway, so I was denied the application just basically because they're saying that this is not a road. So you have pedestrian crosswalk and it's used as a road. I mean, you wouldn't have and their contention as well is that it's a controlled access. Well, you put control access points where there's vehicles and where there's pedestrians. So there's road, I mean, there's traffic on the roadway. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a crosswalk. So that's it in a nutshell for me. Do you have any questions?
We have two questions down here. Council President Cheatham and then Councilman Member Nichols.
Mr. Newting, is this an electronic sign? It is an electronic sign.
Yes, sir.
So it would be the 3/10 of illumination over ambient light requirement, which we're currently not getting out of our electronic sign companies.
Well, unfortunately, the company that purchased that other company has not, but they are in the process of redoing all that.
That's what they keep saying now for 3 months.
You know what? Unfortunately, I can't help with that.
I know.
In this particular instance, so you
Good
know,
point,
that
Frank.
my intent is to hold these personally with my family and keep it as a Pocatello company and not to transfer ownership to anybody else. All our other outdoor companies are owned out of state. So I'm going to keep these for personally here for my family as well. And I did forget one thing. So I actually brought this. This is the subdivision this is going to be under. So this is actually, this city owns this. These are actually a record of survey markers for a road. Back when this was transferred or bought or sold to the city, that these markers are actually, they already exist in the warranty deed, a road that the city, that down the road at some point, this will actually be a road, is our street that goes around.
So that's an extension of the current road that you had on the other map?
No, well, this is just basically, this is just the record of survey here, Rick, is that it just shows that the city owns this is Pocatello Creek Road, and that these markers here are actually roadway markers recorded by Bannock County. So, specifically for a road, and I think Ron will bring that up here real quick for us.
Okay, Councilman Nichols.
So you said it's a one-sided illuminated sign.
Yes, sir.
So which way will the illumination face?
Illuminate towards Olympus.
Towards
Olympus, so it would be illuminating north. Yeah, the actual sign sits back down here. Here's Jack in the Box here.
Right.
So the sign actually sits down in the corner.
So it's going to face towards the north part of Olympus
This way.
and out onto Pocatello
Yes, sir.
Creek.
And then on the backside, there'll be nothing. Just there, it doesn't make any sense to do that anyway.
And that's why you have it listed in your application as being on Pocatello Creek Road, 1655 Pocatello Creek Road.
I think that's, the physical address of the property itself.
Got it.
I mean, all this is under development, and addresses and things are going to be changing, hopefully sooner than later. There's quite a bit of activity up there,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
Thank you. I'll try to be quick.
If you would say your name for the
My name is
audience.
Ron Curl. I'm a lawyer here in Pocatello representing Mr. Newting and his company on the application and this appeal. Thank you. I'm interested in moving right along, of course. The ordinance that you passed says that there should be spacing of 150 feet if the signs are on opposite sides of a street or roadway. The planning and development decision said that this road up here is not a public road, it's a private road, and therefore the 1,100 feet distance needs to be applied from that same section of the code. Also, the planning and development decision said that there was an easement, but the easement didn't permit public movement, but only was an easement for the benefit of the city. I think that the planning and development didn't address the definition of street that's in the city code itself. That says a street includes all streets, highways, avenues, lanes, alleys, courts, places, squares, or other public ways in the city which have been or may hereafter be dedicated and open to the public use, or such other public property so designated in any laws of the state. And we believe that by applying that, the code only allows a 150-foot distance for a public street, and this is a private street, is more of an arbitrary decision. The capricious in the fact that it didn't adopt or apply the definition in the code for a street, which is much more expansive than that. I also wanted to point out that we have a title report that we can present to you if you've not already received that in your packet. But this piece of road that's owned by the city was acquired, and its chain of title shows that a deed reserved easement, the city's ownership of that such stretch of the road is burdened by an easement that was established by a prior grantor. And that easement says, subject to right-of-way reserved for the purpose of street for public use, the same being westerly 50 feet of the below described property. And so the point I'm making is that the decision of planning and development was wrong on two score. They didn't apply the city's own definition for street, which says it's dedicated for public use now or hereafter may be dedicated to public use. And that was arbitrary on the part of the planning and development people. And also that the planning and development people said there is no easement for public use on that piece of ground, when instead the title the city owns is subject to exactly that, an easement for public use. And by not applying by wrongfully deciding that decision, or deciding that the easement was not for public use, it's not based in the facts. And so we believe that under this ordinance that the city has, the definition of street, and the title the city has to the property, the planning and development's decision was arbitrary and capricious and should be overruled on this appeal. Thank you. Stand for any questions.
Council, any questions for Ron?
I guess I only have one. How big is this sign? I'm looking at where he's going to put it, and I'm going, who's going to see it? The people at Jack in the Box?
Oh, no, you'll see it. It'll be a 10 by 30, single-sided.
So it's the same size as the other electronic signs in town?
No, the other ones here are 12 by 24, Rick. This one here is going to be a little, not as tall, but a little bit longer. It'll be visible.
Okay. Linda?
And I'm not sure who my question is for, maybe Jared. I'm just wanting to clarify what it is we are considering and deciding. And it's about the interpretation of the code, not whether we approve this sign or not. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we're just looking at whether the interpretation of street or road was correct or not correct, and that's what we're deciding.
And how it relates to those distance requirements.
Those distance requirements.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Council President?
Can I ask Mr. Kirkman a question, Mr. Mayor?
Sure. We haven't heard from staff yet, and so if you want to wait, or we can ask him now.
Mr. Kirkman, does the city currently plow or maintain the piece of roadway under consideration, or have they ever?
Tom Kirkman, Deputy Public Works Director. Basically, that section is used to turn our trucks around, to go back up Olympus. And this is probably better for planning to answer a lot of this, but we look at this as kind of like the entrance into Costco, or to Cole Chevrolet on the other side of a light. The only reason we go around that is for convenience. It's hard because Olympus is on a hill, and for our trucks, we would have to drive all the way down to Jefferson to turn around, or go up through the neighborhood to go back up Olympus. And so that's the only reason we go around that.
Do we stripe or paint?
I don't know that. I'd have to find out on that one.
Okay.
I know the picture had stripes.
It's,
I can't say that we do the
Crosswalk.
paint the crosswalks. Absolutely, we do paint the crosswalks and the turn arrows and stuff like that for the light.
Okay. Any other questions for? Okay, then I would ask staff to come up and.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Will Claver, Assistant Planner with the City of Pocatello. To get a little oriented, may I use your board?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So in your, also, I handed you some maps as well. To get a little oriented, we're looking at Jack in the Box right here. Putting an existing sign, or putting a billboard sign here with the Red Lion on the south, and then I believe it's Jackson Foods gas station, or affiliated with Shell. The request before you is for reconsideration of the Planning and Development Services Director's interpretation of City Code 15.20.240B8. Spacing of off-premise billboard signs. This section in question states, off-premise signs located on the same roadway or street shall be spaced at least 1,000 feet apart. Additionally, off-premise signs shall be spaced at least 150 feet from other such signs located on the opposite side of a roadway. The applicant is requesting of you today is to determine whether or not the parcel in question should be considered a street or roadway and not approval of the sign at hand. On October 21st, 2022, the initial review for on-premise billboard sign was denied by both Engineering and Planning and Development Service Departments based on the spacing requirements just mentioned. That same day, the applicant called and appealed the decision by requesting a meeting with Merrill Quayle and myself. The applicant stated that the parcel in question is considered a roadway because the property is owned and maintained by the city, and that would meet our definition of a road. Staff took the applicant's points into consideration. Further clarification was needed from Mr. Quayle and myself, so we would talk to PDS Director Brent McLean. After this discussion, it was reinforced that the parcel was purchased for the intent of controlling the intersection and not for the purpose of a road. This resulted in the director's determination written by Planning and Development Services Director Brent McLean, which was endorsed by Development Engineer Merrill Quayle and Street Supervisor Mike Neville. The determination concluded by classifying the parcel as a tool to control access onto Pocatello Creek Road and not as a public roadway. However, if a road was built and platted to the south, this could change the spacing requirements. Please note, with the wording of the ordinance, the sign would have to be on a parcel with an address on Olympus Drive for the spacing to be adjusted to the 150 feet. Examples of parcels being brought by the city for the control of the intersection include, but not limited to, Yellowstone Avenue and Flandreau Drive, where Costco is located, and Yellowstone Avenue traffic signal at Ulta Beauty and TJ Maxx. Other examples that are similar but not exactly the same are at Cole Chevrolet with the intersection of Pearl and Yellowstone, and the traffic signal at Himalayan Flavor and Cafe Rio at the intersection of Alameda and Warren. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Councilman Mansfield, and then we're going to go Mansfield, we're going to go Nichols, and then we'll go Lurick.
I've got a couple of questions. First question, we've used the phrase controlled access to describe this area. Can you provide me with just a synopsis? What would you define as a controlled access?
Controlled access is anything that that controls the access onto the street. So a stop sign, a stoplight, anywhere that the cars are being controlled from accessing that street.
Okay. Second question, you mentioned that in order for this to be appropriate, it would require a change of address.
Correct.
To be on South Olympus. What is the process for achieving that? And as this parcel sits, or as this section of controlled access or roadway sits, would that be feasible to do the change of address as it is now?
There's no road on the west side of that. There's the access, and then where that sign is located is at the Red Lion parking lot. And so you couldn't say it's an Olympus address.
So you can't change the address as it sits now?
As it sits now, I would think not, but that's more of an engineering question. They do our addressing permits.
Can I have engineering follow up on that, Mayor?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Merrill Quayle, the Public Works Development Engineer for the City of Pocatello. Councilman Mansfield, to answer your question, yes, that would not be an Olympus address.
Okay.
When we look at this, especially that was brought up the Creekside Division 2, District Division 2 that was shown earlier, that has 2 lots, and that back lot is also addressed off of Pocatello Creek because there's easements to that property and there's easements to the back property. Even the well, the booster pump that is under construction right now, we assigned it a Pocatello Creek address because we don't consider that as a roadway. It is a controlled access, so for the signal, so that it can be painted and so forth for the traffic that comes up there, so that it can be written and in compliance for the controlled access only, as Costco is brought out, or at Cole Chevrolet and so forth. Because if it was under private ownership, we found, and then also with ITD and these bigger signals, if you don't have that, then you get other things that go on there and that don't have control of that property. So that's all we have is the 100 feet, just enough to maintain that controlled access.
Okay. And then I have one more follow-up question for previous. I didn't catch your name. I apologize. Will. Okay. Thanks, Will. So my last question, you gave us a couple of examples of similar cases of this controlled access. Do you believe that this decision would set a precedent of how those controlled accesses could also be signed? Meaning at Costco, for example, if this appeal is granted, that Costco also, if someone wanted to build signage and billboards over in that controlled access, that would now be something that would be considered feasible?
Yes, I believe that would be, with the billboard already on the north side of Yellowstone Ave. I believe it's still Yellowstone Ave at that point. Then if they were to call this that, and then designate it South Flanders or whatever it may be, then you could reasonably, and they change the address, they could have that.
Okay.
So I
Those
think
are
it
all my
would
questions.
open up.
Thank you.
Frank, I'm going to get to you, I promise. I'll
that's
get to you. We've got Councilmember Nichols and then Lurick.
Hi there. Could we put the board back up, please? The
Big one?
Yeah, that one there.
Thanks, Frank.
You bet, bro. Happy to assist.
So tell me if I'm right here. This comes down to the city believes that the 1,000-foot requirement should apply, and Mr. Newting says the 151 should apply, depending upon whether that's a street or not.
Correct.
Is that right? So from the city's position, tell me how the 1,000-foot line would apply.
Yeah. So you get the existing billboard here.
Right.
How the ordinance states, if it's along Pocatello Creek on the same side of the road of Pocatello Creek, then it has to have 1,000 foot. If it's on the north side of it, then it has to have 150.
Right.
If it's addressed off a different street, if this was Olympus Drive South, and then it was addressed here, this one really wouldn't be too much into consideration because it's a different roadway of site, how our ordinance writes it.
Okay, so under one scenario, because Mr. Newting's application is on, what's the road there?
They're on Pocatello Creek.
On Pocatello Creek. It's not 1,000 feet down
No,
Pocatello Creek. Is that your
correct.
position? Okay. That's all I have right now.
And that was similar to my question. I was thinking because it's on the opposite side of the street, but the idea is that that's not a street. That's the position that you're taking. So because the address is Pocatello Creek, then it's 1,000. I got it. I was just thinking if it was across the street, then why wouldn't it be 150? But same question.
Councilman Nichols
Yeah,
again.
so follow up here. So if I'm still not understanding, I guess, Mr. Newting's position on.
This is, you guys, I think, you know what? The address that was used was just the property address. All these signs actually have their own legal description once approved. And so they're not defined by an address. They're defined by a legal description. It was more convenient just, during the process, rather than spending money to do the survey, is that there'll be a survey done and then that'll have its own legal description. So it won't have a physical property address. And so inside our code, just to be fair to everybody, inside our code, the separation and the 1,000 feet, there are not more than 2 or 3 additional locations in the city. And Northgate is 50 years down the road before anybody started to even attempt to put billboards up there. Or 30 years, Rick, it's gonna be a while before anybody would really attempt it, just because of the traffic flow. So I don't see, and at least I don't see, I myself can promise you I'm not going to Northgate. But this here is just, this meets the spirit of the code. The ordinance is written, it's a roadway, traffic's on the road, and it's a controlled access. What intersection is not a controlled access? If there's vehicular traffic on it and a crosswalk, it's a road. So what I'm doing is just, in clarifying that in fairness to them, yes, I use the Pocatello Creek address, but it will be surveyed, so it won't be a physical Pocatello Creek address. So.
But it will face Pocatello Creek, just like the other one.
Yes. So, but the other one, it faces Olympus. The one that we're talking about on Lamar faces Pocatello Creek, east and west.
Okay, so I didn't think Frank could hold that comment about the address. And I was right. He could have. I've got a question from Councilmember Marchand.
I think mine's for staff, and I don't know that they can answer it, but do we know about the future of development behind this, and are they going to use that road to get there? I understand the pump station buildings back there has a Pocatello Creek address, which is smart right now because it's the only thing back there. 5 years from now, it's not going to be smart because nobody's going to be able to find it. You're not going to look at it as a Pocatello Creek address. So I don't know what's happening there. That those properties have been for sale, not for sale, for sale. Do we know if there's anything coming there? And if it does, are they going to attach this portion of the road to get back there?
I tell you from the development, Merrill Quell again, the current developer with Iron Eagle Development is working on that, and they are starting their phasing. There is a plan. We've seen some concepts for that road to go in. And like I said, they've got right now there's a public utility access and so forth to go back to the booster station. And you're exactly right. When that road goes in, we'll make some adjustments to those addresses. The question was the address here, we will be given an address to this sign because it will have an electrical service. And the address to this sign will be a Pocatello address because there is no road there.
But I guess.
But in the future, there would be. And once that road goes in, then we wouldn't be here having this discussion.
So, right, my question is that road goes back there, right? There's development. This is not an issue. Now it has changed that sign can go there, correct?
That'd be correct.
We just don't know when that's going to happen.
Nope. So once the road does and it's dedicated and so forth and constructed, then we would make changes to addresses.
At that point, it makes a difference for everybody, correct?
That would be correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Well, thank you. All right, Frank, now it's your turn to speak again. I told you I was coming back.
Well, if you guys have any questions for me, I'm just, in all honesty, I'm following the ordinance the way the ordinance is written. I'm not being creative with it. This is actually a road, by its own definition, is deeded as a road. And the difference is that it's a legal location, and I want to put a sign there. And so the impediment here is basically the definition of staff, what's a road or a street, and is this a road or a street? And my contention by definition of the city's own definitions is that is indeed a road. And so in addition, the planning director also indicates that public road, public and private, that he made his determination is that private roads are not public road. It can't be both. So he's trying to say that, and private roads are considered roadways as well. So it can't be, you can't have it both ways.
Josh?
So mine's not a question. Rick, did you have a question?
Just a statement.
I have a statement as well then. So that's thank you. I, given, Councilmember Marchand's comment or question specifically about the development in the future, I understand why this billboard would be appropriately placed in the future. But the problem that I then have is, and the concern that I have is that the changing the city code interpretation for this one instance opens up half a dozen examples in other places across the city, as well as future developments that we can't even foresee right now. And that's my biggest discomfort with this appeal.
Before the meeting started, I looked up the definition in Oxford Languages of roadway and street. And a roadway is defined as the part of a road intended for vehicles. A street is defined as a public road in a city or town. And I think we're splitting hairs, trying to declare that this, who of us has not driven into Jackson's or the Red Lion or used this piece of asphalt in a public manner? And I don't see a problem here. I really don't. And we're going, the sign ordinance is going to be on the agenda in a very near future. Our Public Works Department's holding hearings now or gathering public input, I guess I should say, on how this is going to be, and I think it's going to be a major rewrite of what we're doing. And I don't think we should delay development hoping that happens someday. This can be a part of making that development occur. So I'm in favor, and I hope the council joins me.
Yes, Linda.
I'm sort of struggling here, I think for similar reasons to what Josh said. And I guess I'm thinking about the address too. If it's not just about how we define, whether we define this as a street or a road, it's also, if we're saying it is a road, then it seemed like the address for that sign would be that road, and it's not. It's Pocatello Creek. But I'm nervous about what kind of precedent this sets for, as you said, other places where we don't even know, that might open up. I mean, everybody's going to be wanting to put signs based on a reinterpretation here. So it sets a precedent that makes me nervous. The other part, and I just lost my thought. I don't know what happened. It just went poof. I was thinking about what you said. We're going to look at the sign code, the entire sign code, and maybe revamp the whole thing. And also, based on what Councilmember Marchand said, there could be development here soon that changes all of this and makes it a moot point. I would feel more comfortable if both of those things had happened and then this became a non-issue. But if we change it now based on what the sign code says and based on that development not happening yet, then it sets a precedent for any other locations. I would rather look at the sign code and see how we're going to change the whole thing. And then, hopefully that will allow you to do this very soon. But it makes me uncomfortable to make a exception for this, and we don't know what effect that's going to have on other locations.
Josh?
The one other thing I would add about the development happening now, agenda item 10 on our agenda tonight is based on an ordinance of development that was supposed to happen in 2008 and a decision that was passed then. So the imminence of development is not something I ever count on either as a foundation for decision. So with that, I would move that we deny the appeal of city code interpretation according to agenda item 6.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, motion by Mansfield, a second by Marchand. Is there any other discussion, council, before we vote on this?
For legal counsel, what would be, if any, legal ramification behind approval or of approving this?
I guess I don't understand your question.
So, because we're talking about possibly setting a precedent in the future of people being able to just pop up signs outside of those guidelines. And so,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, so basically you're asking if you approve the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
So that would give the planning director and the planning department guidance from the city council as to how to interpret this specific ordinance. And so when another application came along, my guess is that they would interpret that ordinance pursuant to the decision that the council makes tonight. And so the ramifications of that are what's been discussed. Whether you look at those as positive or negative, that's how that would be interpreted, and it could lead to signs in situations like this in other areas that are right now interpreted differently by the planning department. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other?
Or would I be able to ask a question of Mr. Curl?
Not now,
No,
because
not
we've got a motion, and this would be between us.
Okay.
And this, is that right?
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it.
Okay. All right, then with that, we have a motion by Mansfield and a second by Marchand. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Mansfield,
Yes.
Marchand,
Yes.
Cheatham,
No.
Lurick,
Yes.
Mangum,
Yes.
Nichols,
No.
Okay, the motion passes, and so, sorry.
No, that's the way it goes.
Yep.
You'll hear from us.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you.
Yep, we'll move to agenda item number 7 is a sole source procurement of, I hate saying this, IBAC Panorama 2, 4K high-resolution camera system water pollution control. Council may wish to declare SWS Equipment LLC as a sole source vendor and authorize the mayor's signature on all applicable documents, subject to legal department review, for the procurement of IBAC Panorama 2 4K high-resolution camera system. This is the only 4K resolution camera system that is reasonably available and compatible with the existing system currently utilized by the Water Pollution Control WPC Department. The anticipated expenditure was approved by the City Council in the WPC financial plan and the FY23 budget. The quote purchase price for the system, including all equipment, software, and installation, is $196,567.21.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman Lyric?
I move that we declare SWS Equipment LLC as a sole source vendor and authorize the mayor's signature on all applicable documents subject to legal department review.
Second.
We have a motion by Lyric and a second by Mangum.
I should have said one other thing for the procurement of IBAC Panorama 2-4K high-resolution camera system, as outlined in agenda item number 7. Sorry, I didn't say what it was for.
Second.
You're still okay with that second?
Second.
I would have pulled my second just simply for that. That being said, we have a motion by Lyric and a second by Mangum. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Lurick,
Yes.
Mangum,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Mansfield.
Yes.
Marchand,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 8, 2023 Water Department materials bid. Council may wish to consider bids received on November 1, 2022 for materials used by the Water Department for capital improvement projects, maintenance, and to replenish materials inventory. The bid was separated into 13 separate lots in an effort to guarantee the lowest price for the city. Staff requests that council award each lot to the lowest responsive bidder as follows. A, Core and Main lots 1, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12, and 13, $366,162.65. And B, Ferguson Water Works, lots 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and 10, $325,475.50. The total cost for material bids is $691,638.15. Funds are available in the Water Department fiscal year 2023 budget.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Mansfield.
I would move that we approve the Water Department, approve the Water Department materials bid to the lowest responsive bidder as outlined in agenda items section 8A and B.
Second.
We have a motion by Mansfield and a second by Marchand. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Mansfield,
Yes.
Marchand,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Mangum,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, piggyback bid acceptance source well contract for street sweepers, street department. Council may wish to consider piggybacking source well contract number 093021 ELG via MetroQuip for the procurement of one 2023 Elgin Reagan X street sweeper for the sum of $318,378. The cost of procurement has been budgeted for the street operations fiscal year 2023 budget. Council may wish to authorize the mayor's signature on all applicable documents pertaining to the purchase, subject to legal department review.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve item agenda number 9. That's it. I don't want to butcher the name.
As, yeah, as presented.
As presented.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by,
With mayor's signature
With the
and
mayor's signature.
subject to
as-
legal.
As outlined in item agenda number 9.
man, she's gotten technical now with this stuff. We need to move her back on the other side of the dais. There, over there. We have a motion by Mangum and a second by, I put a name, who was it? Josh Mansfield.
You can't just put an M.
No, I can't anymore. I used to.
Half the council's M now.
Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Bingham,
Yes.
Mansfield.
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Marchand.
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 10 is an ordinance vacating and abandoning the public's interest in approximately 2.36 acres of right-of-way and slope easement located at the east end of Elm Street and the east end of Lander Street, lying west of Interstate 15. Said vacation was approved by City Council decision dated March 7, 2008, and all conditions therein have now been met.
Mr. Mayor.
Council, how do you wish this ordinance to be read?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilman President.
Mr. Mayor, I move the ordinance agenda item number 10 be read only by title and placed on final passage for publication, and that only the ordinance summary sheet be submitted for publication.
Second.
We have a motion by Council President Cheatham and a second by Lurick. Wendy, could you please call the roll?
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Bingham,
Yes.
Mansfield.
Yes.
Marchand.
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Jared, would you please read the ordinance?
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Pocatello, a municipal corporation of Idaho, abandoning and vacating the public's interest in approximately 2.36 acres of right-of-way and slope easement located at the east end of Elm Street and the east end of Lander Street, lying west of Interstate 15, more particularly described on the attached Exhibit A, providing that the public right-of-way herein vacated shall be distributed in its entirety to the adjoining property owner, Pocatello Property Development, LLC, in accordance with Idaho Code Sections 50-311 and 50-1306A, as deemed to be in the best interest of the owner of the vacated property and for the public good, providing that this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law.
I declare that to be the final reading of the ordinance. Shall the ordinance pass?
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Bingham,
Yes.
Mansfield.
Yes.
Marchand.
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 11, items from the audience. This time has been set aside to hear items from the audience not listed on the agenda. Items which appear somewhere else on the agenda will not be discussed at this time. The council is not allowed to take any official action at this meeting on matters brought forward under this agenda item. Items will either be referred to the appropriate staff or scheduled on a subsequent agenda. You must sign in at the start of the meeting in order to be recognized. As a reminder, there's a total of 15 minutes for this agenda item, and 3 minutes per speaker. Heather Disselcombe.
There was 3 names on that list.
There was 4, but 3 of them were for the sign.
Gotcha. Heather Disselkin, Pocatello, Idaho. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I think I last stood before you about a month ago. I just want to make it clear, and I'm sure you probably already know this, but I have yet to get an answer to the questions that I have stood before you asking for twice in person and at least twice in email. In relation to that 6-page document that I had questions about, there's a little bit of a backstory to that you're not aware of. When we originally put in that record request on August the 22nd and got that 6-page document on September the 7th, we discovered something. That public record request, when we submitted it, we had attached a document that we wanted to show this is what we're looking for. It was an example of something from last year for FY22. What we discovered on September the 7th is that 133-page document, which was the FY22 budget, which was posted on the Pocatello website under the Finance tab, had been removed and replaced with a 2-page document. That was very disturbing to us because that's not the actions of a body that values transparency. So I'm bringing that to your attention if you're not already aware of that. It was a document that I regularly, when people would contact me and say, Heather, do you know how much is spent on this? I'd say, you know what, I don't. But I can help you navigate to somewhere on the Pocatello website and you can look up that information for yourself, and I would help people to do that. That document's now gone from FY22. So I'd like to encourage some discussion about that and that be replaced, as well as the current itemized budget for FY23 for those to be replaced on the website. Additionally, you may not be aware that in your packets that you get, the EAL's expenditure approval list, those are not part of the public's packet. So we have to put in a public record request for those to save on staff time. We don't do that every meeting. We try to do it every other meeting because we don't want to create a lot of extra public record requests for staff. I'm bringing all of this up for another point as well, and that is we learned something about a year ago that you may not be aware of. It's a power that the City Council has, and I hope you know about it, but I'm just going to share it with you in case you don't. It's under Title 50, Chapter 7, 706, and the members of the council, just like you remember a few weeks ago in the general election, how we had the vote on the legislature, I think it was 102, you guys have the same power. There are any council members who want to have a special meeting about any particular subject, you can put that request in writing and call a special meeting. You don't have to wait for that to show up on an agenda. Now, that's something you can request, but if it's something you feel is more important, you put it in writing. As long as there's 4 of you that do that, you can call a special meeting. So I wanted to make you aware of that. For a very specific purpose, and that's related to
Heather,
yeah,
thank you.
I know, I was trying to keep track of my time over here.
Apparently we
Sorry,
got
it came
something's
unplugged.
unplugged
No.
that's not communicating there.
That's okay. I'll come back for the second part.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I want to be clear, Heather, you have been answered on the one question about the difference in the dollar amounts. The tax was one, as you know, the expenditure was the other. That extra expenditure was burning down reserves. You've been told that at least 4 times. I know that, a couple times from our finance department. You've received that answer from myself. So I just want to be clear for the public. That answer has happened. There is the tax ask, and then there was the spend. And that spend that Heather has asked about is about a $4 or $5 million. I don't remember the exact numbers. That extra was burning the reserves down to where we should be. And so I want to be clear that that's the case, and I'm more than happy to take a look at the other stuff. So thank you very much, Heather.
Would you provide me a copy of that email? Because I never received any emails.
We spoke in person. Thank you very much with that. I'm not sure how the finance department communicated, and I'll find that out. But
Okay,
thank you very much with that.
I have
We
never
are
received a
adjourned.
phone call from you or anyone else from the city.
No communication at all.